The joy that should stem from returning to my family instead remains eclipsed by the guilt I feel for the many lives lost in Scotland. In the immediate aftermath of the incident at Drem, I braced myself for punishment or sanction by the military, but none was forthcoming. Rather than the allocation of blame, they were instead devoting their time and resource to hunt for what was taken. From what I've been able to glean from the more approachable of my handlers, it appears certain now that the object is in the hands of our enemies, though what they will be able to achieve with it remains to be seen. For all the time the craft was in our possession, we were able to achieve comparatively little. A large part of me believes this unearthly technology will bring to whoever possesses it nothing but misery and death. It has already claimed so many lives. Colonel Alexander, the goodly Sergeant Dunn, all those brave souls lost at RAF Trem and RAF Pengamore, and of course Broodnell. The young lad I could do nothing to help, despite my many years of medical experience and practice. It further transpires my newfound freedom does not come without a cost, this price being participation in yet another military operation, but this time one much closer to home. Prior to being whisked away to the furthest part of the British Isles, I'd been working with staff at RAF Gosford to set up an improved medical wing at the base. I've now returned to find the hospital has been completed in my absence and is now up and running to the required standard. Sadly though, it seems the most active department there thus far has been the mortuary, following a series of mysterious deaths which have taken place. During the short meeting which I recently held with Flight Lieutenant Tyler, it's clear to see he's struggling of late. There is some pressure being expended upon him by his superiors to resolve this matter, and the lack of a solution is deeply affecting him. Having reassured him I would do my utmost to assist, I've since been working with the Flight Officer Ryan, who has been tasked as my liaison. In too many ways, Ryan reminds me of Charles Brudenell. Too young, too unprepared for the horrors this war requires him to face. He's a nervous fellow, often finding excuses to absent himself for the more hands-on nature of our endeavours. And whilst he's excellent at presenting his findings to our superior, I have resolved to persuade the flight lieutenant to seek wider assistance. There is a detective in Wolverhampton who I've assisted in a number of unrelated matters, who I will be asking to approach. Inspector Armitage has a keen and open-minded approach to his duties, and he is no stranger to broken or damaged bodies, still visibly bearing his own scars that he sustained during the last war. The first body was found semi-immersed in a canal just outside the perimeter fence, some weeks after I was sent to Scotland. Due to its proximity to the airbase, and it being RAF servicemen who happened across it, the decision was made not to inform the local police. With no obvious cause of death, it was assumed the poor devil had passed away, either from exposure or drowning, and little more thought was given to the matter. The most striking thing pertaining to the discovery being the deceased was as naked as the day he'd been born. The matter would perhaps have ended there, but for the discovery of a similarly unclothed body one misty morning, 6 weeks later. This second corpse was unexpectedly encountered by the crew of an Anson Avro, which had been struggling to make a landing. With the pilots having been so focused on finding the thin strip of runway amidst the mist and the fog, they initially failed to spot the naked body lying on open ground alongside it. It was only a surprised cry from their navigator that had drawn their attention, nearly causing a catastrophic accident in the process. The serious head and facial injuries this male had sustained, and the degree to which his other bones had been shattered and broken, indicated he had fallen from a great height, potentially an aircraft. Even at this point, I do not feel the flight lieutenant and his men were considering this matter to be overly worthy of further investigation. At best, they likely believed this to be some form of dark humour or a prank by unknown persons. At worst, some form of localised mania or hysteria. But such ideas would be lost 2 months later, when a pair of patrolling sentries literally stumbled directly into a third dead body. It was only now, immediately prior to my return from Scotland, The enormity of the situation finally became clear. The deceased was found fully suspended off the ground, literally embedded within the barbed wire fence of the base perimeter. With the other two bodies having long since been documented and buried, this was the only one I have been able to examine. At a post-mortem, that would play hell with young Mr. Ryan. The metal wiring of the fence was quite literally embedded within the interior of the remains, with no signs of external tearing or penetration, or any other form of injury. It was as if, one minute the poor devil was not there, and the next he somehow appeared, embedded directly in the centre of the fence. The bizarre nature of the metal's integration within his internal organs, offset by the pure horror and misapprehension on his tortured features. All three of the deceased are of seemingly identical age and build, and all are in peak physical condition. It seems unavoidable to hypothesise, therefore, they're soldiers, or perhaps spies. But there's no trace or evidence of their origins, or how they came to be here, or what their motives may have been. I must admit, I'm at a complete loss to explain what is transpiring here. I'm hopeful the inspector will be able to divine the detail that is badly needed to solve this mystery, and in good time, because I fear yet further bodies may yet be discovered lying around this dark, dark place.